So we are at the conclusion of presentations for today. I warn you now, tomorrow is going to be fairly intense. We're going to start the day with the financial forecast presentation. It's not the best news we've ever seen. It's not the worst. So Lorian will walk us through that. And then we will transition over to some discussion on the debt policy. That will be fairly light, but I think you'll probably still be thinking on the financial forecast. So Lorian has been gracious and has agreed to give me about 5 minutes of her presentation time tomorrow to talk about some statistical information. So I have copies for the commissioners. Everyone in the audience should have it. I guess I would ask that you maybe spend some time between now and tomorrow morning looking at this information. I'll go ahead and pass it out to Okay, so for the folks who were at the retreat last year, this looks really familiar. It's the same type of statistics and demographic information that we presented last year, updated for 2020. So essentially what this tries to show you is what our assessed value is, so the tax base we're working with, and how that has looked over time. This was designed to show basically what has happened in our community since the Great Recession. So it also includes information about national CPI, which of course is a measure of inflation that we all hear a lot about. Sorry, is that better? Much better. Okay, apologies. You can also see population information and how quickly we have grown, or maybe how quickly we haven't, which might be of interest. And then a really fascinating piece of information at the top for me is the personal income happening in our community. Then below that, you can see information on what the county's property tax supported funds look like. Because when we talk about the forecast, and Lorian will get into this tomorrow in some detail, we look at those 8 funds that we have that get property tax dollars, because that is something that's much more in this commission's control than really any of the other funds that we have that are controlled by grants. You can see the staffing table over those years. You can see the average employee salary over those years and how maybe it hasn't quite kept up with things like inflation or maybe the personal income in the rest of the county. Not that we necessarily would expect it to. You can see then those drivers that the state has handed down for pension. You can see our health insurance costs, because personnel, of course, we're government. We provide service, right? And so we provide service mostly through people, or we contract with people to provide that service. And so in order to keep them, we have some fundamental costs. And as Sheena was talking about, we were leading on benefits, but I don't know that I would say we're an outlier based on that data, and Sheena agrees with that. You can see what we've paid in utilities. I was really excited to see the news, and I'm being totally sarcastic, to see the news earlier this week about maybe 100 times the rate of natural gas and electricity. I mean, that all sucks for us at home, but it's gonna hurt us at the county for the number of facilities that we have to operate. Elections costs, that's something we have to do. Sheriff costs over time. And then you can shift down a little bit on the page and see costs for services mandated by the state and how those have increased over time, while at the same time, revenues that come from the state have not kept up. And so we will have more detailed information. Lee in the budget office was able to prepare some detailed information on each of these programs. And so you'll have some supplementary information tomorrow that I'll pass out to support that. And then, of course, state actions. And this will be on the handout you get tomorrow. There are a number of revenue streams that have been set up under the state over time. I know Commissioner Howell referenced some of those in his Senate Bill, I think it was Senate Bill 13 testimony. And so This illustrates, again, how much pressure has been placed on the county to pick up services when revenues have been essentially taken from the county, but at the same time, service levels have been expected to be maintained. And so you can see a few examples there. We'll have actual details of what goes into those revenue streams tomorrow, how that was generated, or not. And then finally, the last indicator is something that, for those of you who remember Chris Cronus, our CFO, before me, he loved the price of government measure because it's a standard of public administration going back essentially decades now. And what it tries to measure is how much money you're collecting from your citizens relative to their personal income. And basically what they have found is that there's kind of a statistical correlation that when you're around $1, you're actually you tend to be giving this right level of service for the right level of taxing or fees. And what this will show you is we have consistently been below that level in terms of price of government. So we actually aren't charging as much, but are still providing services that, at least for the most part, the feedback you get from citizens in budget hearings is not all that unfavorable. And so it's kind of a remarkable measure to show efficiency of our county government. I think it's something to really be proud of. So this is a lot of data to digest, which is why I didn't want to throw it at you in my 5-minute chunk of time tomorrow. But it's really good context, I think, as we go into the discussion about what our economic situation really is walking into this 2022 budget planning session. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about this right now. I think we'll have plenty of time tomorrow to do that, though. And I guess Tom is standing up, so I will see if he has any final parting thoughts. I don't, because my back hurts. Okay, his back hurts, for those who couldn't hear. So we will have an hour. I think we'll put that back on the agenda for tomorrow, since we do have all 5 commissioners here. So you will have an opportunity, based on all the information you're getting today and tomorrow, to share with us any priorities or concerns that you have, so we can start coming up with workshop topics or issue papers or anything you might want to see. So that might be the other thing I ask in addition to reviewing this is if you have specific concerns or things you'd like us to take into account for your budget planning, it would be wonderful to try and get that feedback. So Tom has very graciously, to my shock, agreed to let us wear jeans tomorrow, because it's going to be a serious conversation, so at the very least we can be comfortable, right? So we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow morning at 8:30. And thank you to all our presenters today.